Welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast, where we explore the lives and passions of trailblazers, entrepreneurs, and cultural icons beyond their accomplishments. And it's really to bring out humanness and kindness. I'm Denisa Tova, your host. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Maya Vander. She is a dynamic force in real estate and a familiar face to many of you from the Netflix series Selling Sunset. Now, from her roots in Israel to her bustling life in Miami, Maya's journey is actually testament of resilience. She's navigating and rising from personal setbacks, as well as a journey of ambition and a colorful world of luxury realty, of course. Maya, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to
Of
be here.
course. Yeah, no, it's so great to actually meet you virtually. I know we spoke on the phone, and I know we have some commonality. So let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your journey from Israel to the U.S. and eventually what led you to the
Mm.
road to real estate.
Yeah, so I lived in Israel. I grew up in Israel in a beautiful city named Eilat, in next to the Jordan and Egypt border. And I lived in Israel until I was about 20. I met a guy. It's always a guy. I fell in love with. He was American from LA. So I left Israel to be with him. We've been together for a couple of years. It did not work out. It's always that story. And then I was like, what am I going to
Yeah.
do? Am I going to go back to Israel? I'm already like been in the US I was probably already 7 years in the US. And I
Mm.
loved living in LA. So my mom told me, why don't you go get your real estate license? I was working at like five jobs at the time. I was working in retail, I was in a nightclub, I was in wholesale business for clothing. So I decided to take a chance and I got my real estate license.
Just like that.
Just like that. That was the easy part. Then I'm like, okay, because I'm the person I like stability. I like to know what's going on. And with real estate, it's hard. You get your license, and then what? Like it's like when are you going to sell? So I had a couple of part-time jobs as I was starting to get my feet into this business. And yeah, I mean, it took a while. It took a couple of years until I started having consistency with the business. But it just shows me because I was in such a sad of my life after this breakup, and I was devastated. And I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? And it just shows you not everything happens for a reason, but a lot of the times things happen the way they should be. At least in
Yeah.
that case, that was my reason to get my license, and obviously, a few years later, selling Sunset.
Yeah, let's talk about that for just a minute, because I know our audience is eager to find out, what's the myth and what's the reality. Well, first, how did you get into that role? And was there anything, I don't know if life changing, but has that made any impact on you personally getting on that show?
So selling Sunset, I was already a licensed agent with Jason. I was with a different company before. He recruited me. He opened his business, and I joined. I was the first girl actually to join the Oppenheim group. And then after that, the other girls came. Christine, Mary, Heather, they all joined. So we were all already in the company doing real estate. And Jason did the billboard. He basically took a team photo, posted on a billboard on Sunset, which is a main street in LA. And the producer drove by and pitched Jason the TV show. And that's how basically
Wow.
everything started with selling Sunset. Yeah, it was. It wasn't like we were actors, like we were all real estate agents.
That is amazing. So you just kind of like fell into it. How has that impacted your real estate business?
So, real estate is a tough business. It's not as easy as we see on Selling Sunset, oddly enough, and $1 million listing. You really have to hustle. Even now, doing it, still have to hustle. It gives credibility, it gives you publicity. People recognize you. Maybe they trust you a little bit more. I will not necessarily say that all my transactions now are purely from Selling Sunset. Actually, the opposite, because I'm in Miami full time. People assume I still live in LA for whatever reason because of the TV show. But it helps in terms of credibility. It's a great marketing, great publicity, and I'm very lucky. I'm very thankful to be part of it, or at least I was part of it because I left.
Yeah, and and the last question, when it comes to like what was portrayed on the show, as far as the life of a realtor and the environment and the drama of the different personalities, what was reality and what was a little bit of a myth?
So the transactions are real, but are they happening in real time, real life? Not always. Sometimes we close maybe a deal 2 months before and we had to refilm it because we didn't film at the time. Also,
Oh,
the level of the drama. Let's say there is drama. Producers are very smart. If there is any confrontation between, they're going to have like 5 scenes around that confrontation. So it looks more dramatic than what it is, but it's not scripted. It's not scripted, and you know what? The drama is real. I haven't watched the last 2 seasons, but I know there is a lot of beef between a couple of the cast members. They don't
yeah.
get along. You can see it also on social media who is following who. So in that sense, it's generally with reality TV, they don't tell you what to say. But again, if there
Mm.
is any beef between someone or some drama, they will tell me, "Oh, can you talk about the drama with, I don't know, Chriselle and Christine?" So you have to be creative with the TV show, and sometimes we forget that the cameras are there because we're in an office. There are like 5 cameras, and we film for a long time, and it's like you kind of get used to it.
Wow. So I imagine that you had to grow through some of that. Some of it was a little bit of a challenging, but you appear to be so just confident. I think, maybe it's coming from another country, right, with a certain work ethic, determination, and I can relate because I'm a first generation also immigrant. Because you make it sound almost like it was a hard work, I'm sure, but you make it sound almost seamless.
Yeah, so I try to just stay to myself, but it's difficult because you want to be involved in the drama scenes in a way. You want to be involved in the TV show in general. So if I'm not going to say anything or ask a question, that I know producer will probably like, then I'm not going to be on the show. So I had to like
Yeah.
sometimes insert myself and make some comments, not because I enjoy it and I love it so much. It's just because I'm on a TV show and I need to show something. Otherwise, I'll be completely boring, which I'm already like, I was the boring one with no drama. So, then I'm instigator, she's a shit starer, she drop a bomb and she leaves. But it's like, okay, then what do you want me to do? Sit like this and just stare at the office? You have to find the fine line. Thankfully for me, also the edit did me good. I mean, I wasn't like the villain, so that helps to at least gain some trust and love from people who watch the show.
Yeah, I have to say, obviously, when I first started watching it, and it's a nice sort of a distraction, my 24-year-old daughter and my husband's daughters, we're getting to it. You are our like most favorite one because you had it all together, you didn't get involved in the shit steering, as you said. And so you were sort of level-headed, but you got stuff done. Stepping outside of a show into real life, the most important, and we talked about that, the most important roles in our lives are being moms, a motherhood. It's a journey that has highs and lows. Can you share with me like how you navigated through personal loss and challenges and how that also led to some of the healing?
Yeah, obviously we spoke on the phone, and I know you had your, unfortunately fair share of loss. So for me, every time, before I lost my son, and I was a stillbirth. I didn't know the baby. But I was still 9 months. I was expecting to have a baby, and 2 weeks before I lost the baby in the womb, and I had to deliver, unfortunately, a dead baby. I don't wish it on anyone. Just it's a trauma, and it's very
Mhm.
sad. And I felt that was the first time that I felt like what a loss feels like and what grieving feel like, grieving.
Mhm.
So every time I hear about someone who is losing someone that they love and care, like it really hits me hard because I know how they feel, and probably even on a 10 times more level because they actually know the person. But it was a trauma. It was right around Selling Sunset season 5 that came out, and
Mm.
everything was great. It was around Christmas, actually almost 2 years ago. It was around Christmas time, and I love Christmas. Walking around and all the Christmas lights, everything just looked great to me. I'm like, am I going to enjoy dinner and I'm going to enjoy life in a glass of wine? Like, how do you even move on? How do you move forward with life? And it was tough. And I had work and I had my two kids, thank God. And it's a process. I mean, I think about my lost child every day. I think that my rain baby helped me because she's amazing. She's 6 months old, and that
Yeah.
really helped me through the grief and staying busy with work and reading books. And all this, you share something very similar and in common, make me feel that I wasn't alone. And sharing my story to other women also made me feel in a way that I'm helping others, and by sharing, knowing that they are to show them that they are not alone. um yeah, it sucks, it's like
Yeah.
it really is. It sucks. So every time when you told me your story, I felt the sadness for you, because know how dark spot place it can be, not spot, dark place it can be. um and it's just life, right? You have to navigate through it. It's not always perfect. I wish it was. And obviously seeing what's going on in the world now, it's also makes me even more sensitive to things. Before I
Yeah.
lost my son, I was like, I hear about someone's trauma, I'm like, oh gosh, I feel bad for them, but I didn't understand, and now I can
Yeah.
understand. So
That's a great way of putting it. And what I really appreciate, it's so funny. I feel like we've known each other for a long time. Is I think you do. We share the pain, but it's also what I find healing. Is the comfort level with which you talk about death, and because it is what it is, that doesn't mean that life stops. As you can what has helped me. And then he left his sister behind. Elias would have been 30 years today. He passed away 2 years ago. And he served in a U.S. Navy and got out, major PTSD, and then got into substance abuse. And so it's like we sort of she's witnessed, when he was declining. And but talking about it, and the it's not a silver lining, but he left us a gift. And he had a daughter, so I have a beautiful granddaughter, and she looks like him. And so you have to live for them. And talking about him, and which actually inspired me to start this podcast, to really, like what you and I were talking about, to bring out some humanness and some kindness. And I think by opening about being vulnerable and opening about personal stuff, and not being afraid to be judged, that's I think that's the starting point, and to healing. So you are a very courageous woman, to just keep going, and being able to express it. That's really amazing. And your husband must be amazing. I'm curious, how would your husband describe you?
wow, I will say probably like impulsive, like some a little bit of spice and temper. You would call me, don't turn your Israeli one on or something, because that I can get, like, I'm very patient and I'm very nice, but some stuff can trigger me, and I can be very
Yeah.
like, almost like I always said I saw to myself I could be a good attorney, because I know my points. I want to argue them. I want to prove it. Honestly, if it was, I mean, look, I'm a public figure. Also, even now, this situation with all what's going on, which we're not going to get into
Yeah.
politics, but I'm still on a TV show, still on Selling Sunset. I mean, I was on a TV show. I'm a public figure. I have to be also careful what I say, what I do. But if I wasn't on that, I would probably go even more crazy on social media. But I'm like, I have to censor myself. But so that's how my husband would describe me. But then he will say that I'm also loyal and very kind and very like ambitious and go getter. Um, and being vulnerable, right? It's like I'm very open. Like there is no, I don't
Yeah.
sugarcoat things. It is what it is with me.
No.
Um, so the loss of my baby, it wasn't that I it to people feel sorry for me. I wasn't looking, for pity. I just, this is what happened to me. It happens more than you think, when more than you know, and hopefully other, and so many women message me, and I share list of resources with therapists and book and grief and all that. So, and I even helped someone to save her baby because she felt less movement and she went to and insist to get delivered. So, in a way,
Wow.
I helped people, and that is rewarding. I don't expect anything in return.
Wow. I have chills. This is wow, this is great. I'm getting choked up here. This is
Oh, thank
okay.
you.
You yeah, no, really. And you did mention books. That's interesting. You were sharing it on social media, and I'm like, oh, I recognize a couple of those because you're right. It sort of helps you reset your personal mind. And I'm wondering, I know I think you set a goal for yourself to read a book per week, and you like physical books, which are wonderful. Is there a book that you would say has truly transformed like your daily habits?
Yes, and by the way, for so the books I posted on my social were like kind of like mindset inspiring new book, and I'll get to that in a second. But for a grief, if someone going through a loss, there is a book that's called Grief One Day at a Time. Basically, you open a
Mm.
page based on the date. So November 8th will be a page. It's very short, very inspiring, and you just read that book. So sometimes when you're sad and you miss your loved ones, you just read that book and you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And you kind of like go on with your day. But it's called Grief One Day at a Time for anyone who's going through a loss. Now, with the inspiring book for my habit will be the 5 a.m. Club. I'm almost done with it. And it's basically get up at 5 a.m. Now, do I get up at 5 a.m.? No, I get up at 5:30. So I go to bed early, but 5:30 for me, it's better than getting up at 7 because that 1 hour and a half, I accomplish what, I feel so much better and so much more productive in that 1 hour and a half. I can check my LinkedIn, I can upload a video on YouTube, I can, look at properties for my clients and add those to their search and reply to emails. And I already done everything by 7. So I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. Once I get the kids from school,
Oh,
which is,
wow.
that's why I had to like do the podcast like at some, not an hour. I cannot do anything, right? So my morning is very limited with being productive. So the 5 a.m. club really helped my mindset by
Yeah,
Robin
we'll definitely
Sharma.
post those. Yeah, we'll definitely post those links. Yeah, I do. I'm same thing. I'm an early riser. I do get up at 5 mostly, but you know what? The house is very quiet. I can hear myself think. I can actually get lots done, and I enjoy it because it's quiet. So that is funny. Let's talk about your real estate group. So you're with a new group. Tell me how you assembled your
Okay.
team,
Yeah.
and how are you different?
Yeah, so I'm with Compass in Miami. Compass is a big company, it's all over the US, and they have great marketing, great branding. I start getting a lot of leads around 2021, which was obviously COVID time. And I'm only one person and I have kids, so I cannot be everywhere. So I established my group within Compass. We are 5 girls, ladies. I should say girls because we are older, but 5 women, and I keep my team small, but it allows me to have more time with my kids, and I don't have to necessarily work with every client. I can give some of the clients and to my associates to handle the showings and so on. We are very very involved in the transaction. I'm very involved. I pay attention to detail. We are pretty much very responsive to our client. They can get us. They can call me at Sunday 5 p.m. 6. I will always be available. I don't know if
Wow.
it's different than other agents, but I'm just very responsive, and I've seen the difference with some agents in Miami. They're not as
Wow.
responsive, um, and I'm very professional, and I take my business serious. I have great marketing, and I love what I do. This business is a lot of ups and downs. It's not always stable. Now it's a little bit slow because the interest rate, so things are
Yeah.
changing. The market is shifting, and we see it here. The properties are more days on the market, so you have to kind of like adapt and love it, because if you're not going to like real estate and love what you do, then you can forget about it. If you just watch Selling Sunset and got your license and thought it was easy, now you realize, oh shoot, it's actually not easy, then you have a problem.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's just a show. You're right. You have to take the good with the bad. And it shows your passion and energy definitely shows. Do you specialize only in Florida market?
So I'm licensed in Los Angeles as well, but I don't practice real estate there. Yes, I have my license. I have the whatever I need to set up if I need to write a contract tomorrow, but I'm not there. So the market is changing. I'm a firm believer on just focusing on an area. You cannot be all over the place. I had to be a little bit all
True.
over the place because I flew between LA and Miami to do Selling Sunset. But now when I'm in Miami full time, this is my market. So I try to be in that market and elevate it to more like higher end price point, and you really establish the team. And it's a process. It's time because I lived in Miami 6 years, but because of Selling Sunset, I've been literally flying for the last five. So the last year and a half, this is the only time actually I'm solid in Miami and I can focus.
Do you think you'll go back on television?
Possibly, actually. Maybe I'll do a guest appearance. Maybe there are talks for maybe guest appearance in Selling Sunset. But I don't. They haven't filmed, the next seasons yet. I'm not sure what the future for the show is, but not full time,
Yeah.
just because logistically I can't. If I could do it, sure, but being in Miami and they're filming in LA, it's a bit difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm there for the real estate, and I don't know if people notice, but it's a little bit more drama in real estate.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So on a final note, because we can chat forever here, what advice would you give to, new realtors, women who are trying to get into the business?
So I think you really have to have the passion, and you have to know that it takes time. Like I always say, Rome wasn't built in one day. I didn't get into real estate and boom, sold a $10 million house. Maybe you get lucky and that's amazing. But it takes time, and you have to keep plugging, and it's you have to hustle, network, open houses, marketing, branding, cold calling maybe. So I would say if you like it and you feel passionate about it, go for it. But don't expect to make so much money in the beginning because, again, it can take a year until you actually sell something. So just be patient.
Do you feel that getting on a social media is really helpful? It's almost a must for someone who's trying to get themselves established in this market.
I think the good thing with social media, it's free. So you can advertise all
True.
day long there. You can post yourself like walking around and looking at, real estate. And maybe you didn't even sell one place, but you can make it look like you sell so much because you're doing like all these like beautiful property tours. So I think it's great. I think it's a great thing to have. Will necessarily build your whole business around it? I don't think so. I think you have to try different things to get leads, clients, buyers, or seller. But I think it's a great way because if people look at your name, they will Google you, and then your social medias will be there. So I'm not saying you cannot have a girls' night out and have a glass of wine holding, but don't be too crazy because people will judge based on what you post. Also, don't be too
Yeah.
boring. Don't just post real estate because not everybody care. So you can post a picture with you and the dog, and then oh boom, I'm doing real estate. Kind of like remind people that you're in the business, but don't be obsessed about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And be authentic, right?
Exactly,
That's
exactly. Like
important.
it's okay to post
Yeah.
real estate, but just not every post. Like, look, my business page with real estate is the most boring page ever. I have it there just to have it, but my personal page, even on my feed, I don't really post
Love
real
it.
estate. I just do like tours, but barely. Like, mostly it's about me and the kids and the dog, and unfortunately, ladies,
Yeah.
ladies, some politics, which I will tell people avoid politics if you can.
Hey, you know what? You are authentic. You are who you are, and you are a passionate person. So don't stop. Don't stop. Stay the way you are. And Maya, thank you so much once again for being so open, sharing your journey with us, and your resilience, dedication. It's just both in the real estate and in life is truly inspiring. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Denisa. Thank you for having me.
And for our listeners and viewers who want to know how to connect with Maya Vander for your real estate needs, click on our bio link below. And do not forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar Podcast. Follow us on social media links to keep up with the conversations. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.